Hi everybody, in today's video we're gonna keep working on the wood lodge exercise, this one that we did a couple of weeks ago, but this time we're gonna start working on the interior and how we can balance the light. So I'm gonna show you some tips and tricks that you can do, but this is going to be like probably a part 2, 3, part 3 videos. So I'm just going to split it in 3 videos, and today's is going to be more of an isolation type of workflow. So we set the camera and then we set the lighting according to that camera and the exposure and all the rest. So after this video, on next week's, hopefully I can do a video based on a more like a global um, exposure or global lighting balance, so we can use it for interactivity, for walkthrough, so we can walk and play our level in the future. So this one is just pure lighting balance and understanding how we can balance the lighting inside. So that is what we're gonna do in today's video, and more will come. So let's get started. So I've got my project open, and this is where we left on the wood lodge exercise. Now let me create a duplicate level first, just to have it as a backup. Let me call this backup. Something we can just get back to it. Then go to File, Save All. Now I'm going to move my camera inside the house, and just let me position it somewhere around here. And the first thing we notice, besides the underexposure, is this light spot that is leaking through the ceiling. So I'm going to tune down the values of my exponential high fog in here, and let me see if it does the trick. So if I reduce that, yeah, that disappears, for example. So we know it is related with the volumetrics in here with this, the directional light. So this is scattering distribution. This is more like God rays. And to be honest, I don't use it that much for the interior. So I think I'm just gonna drag this down all the way. Value like that should be fine. There's still a little bit of fog there, but maybe being a little bit lower, probably 0.025 is a value I usually work with. So I like crisper uh, interiors, sort of like the magazine shot on interiors magazines, etc. Now let's set some camera angles, and I'm just gonna go here, create camera in here, send a camera actor, so I can look for it. Probably is down here. I can move them into my cameras folder. Let's call this Cine camera or camera interior, and that's gonna be my camera 1, so I can just pilot it here, and let me place it just, I think this is a nice angle. I'm just going to go into cinematic viewport, get back into my camera, and then get this grid in here just so I can place somewhere nice like that. Whoops, it's moving too fast, so I'm gonna reduce the camera movement speed with my mouse wheel. Okay, I want this to be DSLR, and this is going to have a focal length of, I reckon, 24, or even, let me see, 21. Is that a good angle there? Maybe if we can set this in line with this line in here, my fireplace, just to frame it a little bit. Maybe we can go back a tiny bit. I think this should be fine, and I can just set this angle in the y-axis to 0. Okay, I want to have this aperture to 22, so the maximum, and probably I want to set my focus distance to this fireplace. Now let me just go in here, or I can set the exposure laser when we add all the cameras. So let me just get out of that one. Then I'm gonna grab Alt and drag. Now that's gonna be my interior 2. I think an angle looking like this, or probably like here, just to frame it. If this is in your way, just press G and you can hide it. So I'm just gonna place it like this. I think this is a nice shot. Again, I just probably move this to 0.5. Seems fine. Okay, that's our interior 2. Now let's Alt D and move into interior 3. This is going to be probably facing my kitchen in here. I can just pull this up. Probably these lines serve you as a guide, like, if like camera, like a photographic camera, these grid lines allow us to just have a good composition. So I can just place it right here. Oh, I selected the kitchen instead. I'm going to go into interior 3, probably this to 0, and maybe this to 1 or 0, and probably just let's pull it back just so we have a nice shot in there. So maybe move it like that, and then you got these nice lines going to the end. Now let's do another camera here. I can just drag this one in and pilot it again. Interior 4, probably something like that should be fine. We can have a little bit of detail at the background, or if you prefer, just have it like this. And I think I'm just gonna stick with this one. It's quite nice to have maybe a camera movement going up like that. So I'm just gonna leave it in here. And let me see, I can just change this manual focus distance. Actually, I think 235, 2 meters and 30 should be fine. I mean, we are using the aperture of 22 because we want to have focusing in all the elements, and then we can do some close-up shot as well. Now I'm just gonna do another one for just looking at the bathtub. So that's going to be my camera number 5, interior 5. Gonna maybe place it something like this. I might even increase the focal length to 30. Just a tiny bit of that door in there as well, so maybe 24. I think it's something in the middle, 26 should work fine. And then I think there is let me just change this to unlit just so we see it. There is a bathroom in here, well, shower room, if that's how you want to call it. And I'm just gonna select this camera here. Let me just find it again. Press G, probably go into lit, and then drag that in, and that's going to be my 6. And I'm just going to go into onlit and place it probably something along these lines here. I probably need to increase the focal length to 16 maybe, or we can even do a vertical shot. So maybe let's do a vertical shot for this one. Let's just invert this value, so 20.25 in here, and this is gonna be 36. 20.25. Yeah, at that focal length it's gonna be just too much. And then we might mix things up with this shot, maybe this focal length in here, and to do something fun. And then 75 should be good. Okay, now let's go and add a post-process volume to our scene. So I'm just gonna go back into the default viewport, going back in here and add a post-process volume. And I'm just gonna go into top view. I can hide this vegetation just for the time being. There's some big rocks in here, I think. Okay, let me just place this in here and just place it within the walls, the interior walls. Probably we might need to just adjust in the entrance. And I'm doing this because I want to have control of my exposures and all the parameters when I'm on the interior, and on the exterior I have all the parameters, even for performance wise, because we are going to use this project for interactivity. We're going to walk through it in future videos, so this is what I'm going to do. And let me save this and let me go into probably from view, so I can just place it properly. Maybe right view, sorry. Yeah, somewhere along those lines. Okay, let me just go back. Now it's overexposure because we don't have any. How does I have these rocks in here? Any vegetation? Okay, now I've got it there, and you see, well, it's auto expose. So let me just grab that post-process volume, move it into volumes and effects, and we can even call it PPV interior, and then this one is gonna be PPV exterior. For this, I'm gonna go into infinite, gonna search for it, and this one is not gonna be like that. So in case you duplicated the other one you found easier, you will need to uncheck that. So for the exposure, I want to go back and set to manual because I don't like the transitions that happens when you go into the room by room. So I prefer to have everything manual, uncheck that, apply physical camera, and then just increase the exposure. So now this little guy here is what is going to make us, it's gonna help us to balance the lights in here. So you got the dark colors, so represented on like a black, you got the grays, and you got the whites. So by this you can see what's gonna be your pretty much your darker points, if it's too dark, if it's too white, just to see those values. So I'm gonna go back to the interior. I think it's too much, 6.5. Let's go to 7. Okay, now we got some, it's a little bit alright, but it's not gray. So just let me drag this to here, see how this behaved in there. And then look, I can't even see my whites. Everything is like grays, and the black is too black. There is no gray in there. So I need to bring more light into this room. So now let's balance these up. Okay, so now I'm here. Let's see how my camera behaves. So if I go into interior 1, so the exposure, let's see, is automatic. So I'm gonna change all of that to manual, and let's go to 6. Oh, I'm not in this one, 6, then manual. Okay, so it's not great. Now we need to set the directional light, and let's bring more lighting. Let's say 20. Let me go into game view. So it's quite dark in there, so probably I need to increase this indirect lighting, and now it's green. So probably I'm just gonna go back, and then 10, maybe 10, it's fine. Now I'm gonna go into skylight. Remember, we use this cube map here. You've got an option to go into, just use real-time capture. And now if I just grab my direction light, press Ctrl L, and probably I need to go back into game view. Maybe I need to just get out of the camera. So we can bring more light into that dark corner there, just by moving our sun in the other direction and maybe down. It's easier if we are in the room that we're gonna illuminate. So yeah, we can bring that in, but see, there is a lot of noise, and that is going through all these leaves, and we probably will need to add some console commands and work on it. So I'm just gonna go and maybe set it in here and try to increase the skylight, maybe to 4, 5, let's say 20, if it makes any difference. It does. But now it's everything doesn't seem that balanced to me. Now I can see a little bit of white, but my gray is basically like a black one, like a black. So it's not great. Now let's go back to this point, and it seems that it's all right here. And in interiors, you got different options. You can go with direct lighting, but when I say direct lighting, it's the sun hitting your interior. But that is gonna cost to have like high contrast on your shadows. So to me, to be honest, I prefer to have no sun at all and work just with like an overcast type of illumination for interiors. So I'm gonna recommend you this video here. It's great, by Stephen Brook, and it's architectural photography interiors, and 7 essential steps that you need to follow. And he's like a master. He teaches in Miami University, I think it is, and he's also a professional photographer. So he has so really nice tips of how to improve your interiors, and I have learned so much with his videos. So I'll leave the link in the description. So how we can approach these lighting issues, like all these unbalance in here, we can go, if you're doing your project for just for video, you just want to show do an animation and just showcase these to your client and have no walkthroughs like interactivity and that sort of thing, then you can get away just to go into each camera and set, for example, I go into this fifth one, and then you can add lighting in there. I can add probably a, let me see this. Let's just add this portal light. Maybe put it something like this. I'm gonna reduce this to 1, probably. It's too much. I can even increase the size of it and then go up. Then go back into your camera. So this is camera number 5. And reduce the exposure. Oh, no, number 5 is interior number 5. I probably should keep this in a different folder. So let's call these interiors. Interiors. And then the outdoors probably gonna go into another one, just so it's not in our way, so I can just hide them, leave it in there. So on this one, I can just go here, manual, and then increase this to something along those lines. Let me just grab one of those and just place it in there, and now let me pilot again my my interior 5th camera. Okay, now I've got that red light there, so I can just move that way. I can even have a fill one in here. Let me just move it. Just a trick that you can do, just get out of that one, and then you just pin this one in here. And now I'm gonna grab that one there and place something like that. Probably reduce the size of it, because we don't even the attenuation radius, we just need a tiny bit there. 0.1, maybe move it down a tiny bit, or even because the light is coming through this window, we can just put it this way, rotate it 90 degrees, place it in here, and then reduce the source like that. We can even increase the radius. So now let's go inside the camera. Let's pilot it. So you see how my scene is lit. Let me just maybe just hide that one there. So my white is not too wide on the way the highlights are hitting it. So if we have like a let me just show you with this red light there. You see here, if I increase this value, it's going to be overexposure, and you see my white sphere or even my white color is too much. So I need a value like this, like a small one is soft. I can even use the ray tracing. Got it like that. I think it's already on ray tracing, but it has like this nice shadow here. I can increase the intensity light, the direct intention sorry, the indirect lighting intensity, but I think a value of 2 should be fine. But you can see here there is also some reflections that is not according to what is happening in this scene, in our landscape. So to get rid of that reflection here that we can also see in our sphere, by the way, if the sphere doesn't look like a mirror, we go into the interior, go into reflections, go into quality, screen trace, yeah, and then in here hit lighting for reflections. This also high quality translucency reflections, and this max roughness to trace. Now you can see here, I can see my chrome sphere, and it's working fine, and you can see this reflection of that light in here, this red light. So let me just actually decrease this. Now it's not gonna get rid of it because it's visible. And a trick is to go into advanced on that red lighting, and then go here, advanced, and this specular scale, just turn all the way down. Boom, no longer there. Now we can just move it to any desired location we need. Probably sort of like that, it's fine. Now your scene is going to be well balanced, and you have a little bit of indirect lighting in here hitting, so that we don't have those weird artifacts or shadows issues. Let me just see. I might even like this. There's seems like there is not much. Sometimes you can see some like a splotchy noise coming in here, so I'm just gonna decrease this to 0.02. So it's still there, but it's not that noticeable. And I can just do the same thing and turn that specular here, so it disappears in there. So this is one way you can do it, and now I can work on different areas. Now it's overexposed in here. Now let's do for, let me see, this one. I think this one is quite nice how it is. It is exposed, so let me just check the, okay, let me see if we can work on the, this is number 4. Okay, so I've got again my spheres in here, and now I'm gonna go back into this lighting, and let's get rid of it. You see now, it's, my darks are too dark, is underexposed, so we need to crank these values up. So I can just gonna grab this red light here. I'm just going to increase the size. Let me just put it there and maybe make it a little bit higher. Let me see if I can just move them out. Okay, now the attenuation is fine. Let me see, 0.5. We need to go into the camera itself just to check the exposure. Oh, you see, the exposure wasn't right, so I need to go into manual. Let me go into 5, 6, 7, 8. Too much exposure or too much lighting, either way you want to look at it. So let me just put this to 0.4, 0.3. We can even reduce the temperature to 566, just so it's more like a sun type of. I think this is the right temperature for daylight. 5600. So you can see I can even get the other one, and let's increase the. Whoa, it's too much. I mean, if you can increase, but you see here it's way overexposed. So let me go back into 1 or 0.1, 0.2, 0.1, 0.05, and increase the indirect lighting maybe. Probably I'm gonna need to go into 0.02, but it's still some indirect lighting. And now we can focus in our. Let me see if I can move my. No, I can't. Seems like I can't move the directional light from the camera, so I'm just gonna grab it here and this here. And let me see if we can position it. Now that is like in this way. Well, to be honest, I'm not that great moving the sun this way. I prefer to use the sun sky, but it's a method that you can use there. So you can place your sun in there if you like to have a directional light coming in. I prefer not to use it and work with something like this. So now if I go into, this is number 4, I can even reduce the exposure, the exposures a tiny bit. So game view, and my camera to 7.5. I think 7.5 should be alright. Maybe I think 8. No, 7.75. So you can set your shots separately. That is one way to do it. And let me just. Seems like there's too much volumetric. The fog density is still there, so it's kind of bother me. Something like that. And maybe I think maybe it's too exposed. Maybe there's too much light coming in, but not much of a source. So again, we can just put this down. 0.05, no, 0.1, and then turn down this to 1. And another trick that I use for the interiors, and that is going to affect my contrast and the highlight, is I go to this. Is it a lens flare? No, it's film. I go in here and I turn this down to 0.65, 0.65. This one's 0.6. It's quite the values I like. This is just your own preference. If you can see moving the contrast, but that also helps to set up the scene. So if I use 0.6 and 0.66, maybe no, that's too much. Less contrast. Is trying to make it more realistic. These values, it's well. You can, of course, you can composite your scene in post process, and I always recommend you to do. But just for like playing it like a video game wise, you can use these values, and it's all right to fake things up. to add some lights in here. Just be mindful that when we start working for interactivity, we need to be careful of this FPS here. By the way, to show it in here, just go into edit preferences, and look for frame. I think it is. I think general performance. Yeah, show frame rate and memory. So that is not here now. It's there. Instead of just having it here, this one, I prefer to have it just on the top one. So you need to be mindful of your frame per second if you're going to do a kind of interactive experience for your clients. And if I go in here, go into optimization, and then go into light complexity, you see it's starting to go into the mid levels. But now, if I want to add a spotlight here, you see now it's gonna go into the extremely bad, and add another one because there is another one there, and this is white. So this is not great for our scene. So I might just need to get rid of this and then work into the red levels and try to bring more light or indirect lighting from this source, or just have not too many overlapping lighting. And that, you see here, let me just, my frame per second just went all the way up. Now it goes, well, actually that's bad. Oh, of course you won't see it properly. So it goes into the 40s. It went out to the 60s. So we want to trying to keep our frame per second about 70, 60 frame per second, just to have like a nice experience. The minimum we can ship or we should ship experiences would be like 30 frame per second, but that is on the client's computer, not on our computers. So just things that you need to be mindful when working in, and what type of work you're gonna do. So something I like to do is I can combine both of the process, and in this video I think I'm just going to keep it for the isolation way, so which is the one we saw, is just add some lighting there and then trying to bring just to focus on each shot, on each different shot. This is number 5, so just do that because we changed remember we changed the position of the red light. Now our shot is not going to be the same. So just be mindful if you want to use different red lights or sort of like an auxiliary light. Yeah, you can just do that and work around those issues with the exposure. So let me go in here and see how these shots look. Okay, it's underexposed, as we can see. Oh, I moved my camera. I shouldn't have moved that. I'm just gonna go back into, that is the number 3. Let me go into cinematic viewport and then number 3, and let me see if my lines didn't move. I think it moved a little bit. Just I want that nice line going to the end. Okay, and in here I can just probably go up a tiny bit, or bring one of those red lights to this side in here. Let me just, okay, maybe this is too close. Just gonna move it right here. Maybe we can have 3 of them just place side by side. Okay, now let's increase this value. It's too much. It's 0.4. And then let's reduce this to probably the width. We might not need that much of that width. And okay, let's maybe just drag all the way down, because we are also seeing that back end there. So we may want to do it like that, or even increase the size of this. Why not? 1300. You can change to any size you need. Okay, you got that. And this one we can hide. Still, this is a little bit black. It's not bad, because this one is gonna be the darkest side. But if I go in here and bring another one, those lights here, let's reduce the size to 600 maybe. Oh, this let me just move it right there and decrease the height. Okay, now let me see that sphere. It's soft, it's not bad. Now let me see from the camera. Number 3. Yeah, I think I can work with this, with those values. Maybe move it a tiny bit. Maybe it's too much. Probably 0.05, and then move it in a tiny bit, just so, because I think, well, it depending on how the directional light is hitting this, or how you want to hit it, you can have a side with more highlights than the other one. So for this one, you see here, this is a good place to know where the highlights are. So in here I can see that I've got more highlights than in this side. So I'm just gonna reduce that tiny bit, 0.03 maybe, and still balanced nicely. Maybe I can increase the exposure, just if I'm being too fussy. The exposure of my camera, and then go to the 7 value, and let me see in game view. Yeah, maybe it's too much for the floor. Now I can see it in here. Maybe this floor is too. Maybe we can reduce the specularities. All right. Let me see if it does something. 0, no. I think. Let me see where the sun is. And okay, so probably is in the camera. His exposure probably is too much exposure in here. So I'm gonna go back into post-process volume. Set to 6.6.5, 5, 7.6, and then go back to this one. Let's see the changes. So in here at the top is quite nice. Oh, I moved the camera again. Shit. It's quite nice. So I think this material here, I think it's too. the the tint probably is, don't know if it's too light for this, so let me just increase the contrast. Maybe it's too much of a contrast. And it looks all right. Let me see from the other. So in here it's fine. By mind that we don't have the lighting there, but and this is number 5, then number 4. So it's that shot there, and I think it's too much light on each side. So let me just go back into this, and then yeah, it's affecting more the ceiling rather than the floor. So let's keep tweaking this just so we can finish just this first video. I'm just gonna put it back to 6.5, and I think it should, this here just need to check where the light is coming in. So let's go into lit, detail lighting. Okay. By the way, this is not the portal light. It's just basically telling me that the light is coming in from this point of view, this side, and it's going to the translucency. And this is the back light. And just to show you what I mean, if it was a little bit confusing, if I go into my directional light and then change the position, where am I? To the other round, you see? So the light, the directional light is hitting this side, is in this side, and if I turn it that way, it's gonna be that side there. Just don't get confused if it's not the red light that is affecting this translucency. So let me just put it back to where it was. Yeah, it was in there. And for what I gather, I think it is the directional light that maybe is too high. Let me, oh yeah. So it's the directional light that the value was probably too high. Let me just get back to my camera and then go into interior 3. I can even reduce further, or the indirect one. Let's go to 3. Let's go to 1. It's just gradual, I think. Then 10. Yeah, 10 is too much, so probably value of 2 will do. And now I need to rebalance this a tiny bit. So probably I can just give value of 2 and then increase my exposure. Just so, yeah, it's not bad, and I think it could look great in when we render it. Maybe it's a little bit overexposed in there. Let me just grab this down to 1 and then go back into lit. Okay, it's not too bad in this side. You can see, always want to keep it in like a neutral value, just when you look into the lighting or even the detail lighting. Yeah, so from here we can, if I put it back to 10, you see, you might want to have, I mean, this is a direction that you're in too. So if you want to have some like a bright directional light, you can have that as long as it's balanced. But let's just try to keep it to some values that can be good in our eyes. So that is done there, and now it's much better. Let me just get back to game view. Yeah, it's still there, and maybe we can just reduce this to 0.3 to 0.2 and increase this to 2 or 1, and then go back into the camera again, and then increase the size to the exposure to, let me see, 8.5. Now it's too much. 8, 7, 8. Yeah, I think with this value I can work even in post, and it should be fine. So yeah, this video, it was more like doing the lighting, the interior lighting, just as a separate unit, just trying to work around each camera and place the lighting, and trying to balance things out with our helpers here. So I hope this was helpful in any way, but don't worry, we are gonna work on how to make it for the interactivity. I'm not gonna do a render now because I want to populate this with assets, that some nice accessories that we can bring in. Then we are going to explore also doing the artificial lighting, because in interiors, in my opinion, the best shots are the ones with the lights on, and that is the same. Well, Steve Brook in his video said that the best shots are. It depends on of course on the style of the photographer, but I think it brings more of the architecture, or the whole scene into life is with the lights on. So we're going to explore that as well, and let's see how we can optimize our project for the use for interactivity. So this is the video I've got for this week, and the next week I'm gonna do the other bit, or the part 2 of this video. So thank you for watching. Hope to see you soon, and have a nice weekend. Today is Friday. Take care, keep active, keep creative, and see you soon.